Hey, all right, we're finally got my phone hooked up here. Hey guys, thanks for stopping in. Dinosaur Omelette time, and we're going to be talking about some special quail information. Welcome, I am Christopher, and
I'm Angela.
the Dinosaur Omelette is my lovely wife. Welcome. I'm wearing a Santa hat. If you're watching this after we record it live, this is the Thursday before Christmas, right? So what is today? The 21st.
Yes.
It's the shortest day of the year, so I think that's a positive thing. It's the first day of winter, but it's also the beginning of the light. So the light's coming back.
Yay.
Yay. All right, so tonight, a little bit about us real quick if you guys are new. We're a small hatchery. We focus on quail. Angela has a silky chicken breeding program. She has really cool birds if you check us out on the Facebook.
Yeah, I just real quick, I specifically focus on producing silkies for pets so people can have them to add to their families and have snuggle buds, a breed that's easy to pick up and hold and pet. And silkies are known for being the best pet breed of chicken. So that's that.
Yeah, somebody else is right in here. What do we got in here? Feathered connections. Oh, there's my friend. Oh, hey, Kelly. Yeah, I have a little computer set up to the side. Yeah, so she does her silkies, and we focus on jumbo quail, and that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. If you guys are getting new into quail, you want to avoid the mistakes. So we're going to do the top 10 things we wish we knew before starting quail. Some of these we did know, actually, kind of clickbaity. But, oh, hey, it's still breathing. Oh, Kelly, that's my other account, still breathing. But, these are very important points that you guys want to address before you get your birds so you can avoid mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And really have the best production. So why do we do the Jumbo Turnix quail? So what is the niche or the market or what are we aiming to satisfy?
And why do we focus on this particular variety of quail?
Yes.
So the jumbo quail, and we have the wild type or brown.
They're not wild, they're domesticated.
They're just a brown color.
They're called wild.
We like them because they are feather sexable as early as 3 weeks or a little earlier if you're experienced. And you can tell the females have speckles, males have a rust red chest, and that makes it easy and quick for you to separate them if you want to. But they are very good for meat birds. They grow very fast with their meat. They pretty much, when they're a chick, they hatch, they double in size each week. And then once they hit like 4 or 5 weeks, their growth slows down slightly, but they're still rapidly growing compared to other types of poultry. And they can be processed for meat as early as 8 weeks old, and they'll have plentiful meat on their breast.
For those of you who had trouble following that, in short, they produce a lot of meat, they produce a lot of eggs, and they're easy to raise.
Yeah, they do produce a lot of eggs, and the jumbos are known as having laying the largest size eggs for quail.
Yeah, and in fact, I think anybody really new to quail, if you're tuning in, you raise them in a hutch. They don't take up any space. They're very manageable. So if you have a small homestead or a small farm, or you're residential and instead of growing plants, you want to have eggs, you can do that. They're really, really versatile, cool little birds. And they're gaining popularity. You know, as the economy shifts, food becomes expensive, people's natural instincts kick in. They want to learn how to do things. They want to raise their own food, so they're raising birds. And here are the eggs they lay. Yes, they're tinier than chicken eggs. They're about yeah, actually, we're going to put this paper down. Yeah, so here we go, show and tell. I always do this in these videos. People always say, what do the eggs look like? They're a 1-to-3 ratio. So one of these, or 3 of these eggs will be equivalent to about 1 large chicken egg. And these are actually on the larger size. These are what, 20 grams?
This one's probably 19 grams.
Yeah, we don't use grams. I'm in the United States, but just for the eggs we say grams. Otherwise, I stick with my English measurements. Yeah, so anyway, real brief synopsis of the quail. Great food animals, easy to raise, self-contained. But if you do it wrong, you're going to have some hassles along the way, and that's what we're going to discuss tonight.
Yeah, because the whole point, if you want them for meat and eggs and to be a little more self-sufficient, the whole point is for it to be efficient in producing those things. So what we're covering is going to, you know, help you have a heads up to prevent stress and, you know, making it
failures.
Yeah.
You don't want to have the failures. So like we put a lot of time into education, like educating our customers. In fact, if you go in the description, I usually put down a whole bunch of our, like 3 or 4 of our PDFs that are really important.
Meant to be helpful for you.
Yeah, for newbies, for first timers, and they're written for like a 3rd grader. They're really easy to read. I wanted to make them simple. So just click on the links. They're free PDFs. And it'll answer a lot of questions about quail. So, without further ado, there's Bill. What's up, man?
Oh, hi.
Saying hi to
Kelly.
So, without further ado, the 10 things to know before starting with quail. And we've been doing this for a while, and these are pretty important, actually. Okay, you're going to see there's a lot of good resource videos here on the YouTube. So do look around. You know, we're not God, but we have experience. So here we go. Starting out, number 1. What's number 1? What's the important thing we're starting with?
You want to start with quality birds.
Quality, what's that mean, ma'am?
What that means is, well, I mean, even starting just before that, you're buying from somebody you can trust. You can, and what does that mean? That means that you can at least read some reviews about them, or they have information about their birds. It's not just like a random, here's some birds available. There's some context to the history background.
You want to speak with a reputable breeder. You want to vet the breeder, vet the person you're buying from.
And then, so the point in having quality birds is, just like anything, even non-living products, like buying, you know, an electrical component for your house. You can go cheap, or you can go, you know, quality. That doesn't necessarily mean expensive, but quality. Do your homework. And that item or animal or whatever is going to produce and function as it's intended to, and for the duration it's intended to.
Yeah, especially with these food animals. If you're impulse buying from somebody on Craigslist and you don't know anything yet because you're new, you haven't gained the education to make a really good qualified decision, the seller, their interest is making money, and they're not going to educate you if their birds aren't really high quality and aren't growing to, say, the size they should be, for example, minimum 10 ounces, but...
For a jumbo.
Yeah, for a jumbo quail.
Or perhaps the birds are they're marketing them to you at a certain age, but maybe they're actually a lot older, and you know, closer to stopping their production. Or maybe they're sickly, and that's why the person wanted to get rid of them, but they're not disclosing this to you. You know, there could be all sorts of things. So if you're starting with quality birds, that means they're healthy. They're vibrant, they're young. If you want something older, that's your decision. But you're getting what you want, and
it's a much more controlled environment.
Yeah, you're going to get a high production of eggs.
Because there'll be a lineage that you can refer to, like a reference, a past reference. You can go back into the familial history of the birds you're getting, or the genetic history. And there should be a consistent history there with the animals, parents, or their breeding stock. That you can trace back. So if you're just buying random birds, not so much.
The person you're working with should be willing to answer some questions, you know, about the birds, your questions as well. Now, if you get the opposite of quality, you know, starting with quality birds, what you may end up with is birds that they're not laying eggs at all, or maybe they die, you know, soon after getting them.
That's not good.
Yeah, you want to. Pretty much you want them to be functioning in the healthy state that they're intended to be.
Yeah, so quality birds, call the people, talk to them. Oh, little FYI, if somebody's asking for Walmart gift cards or some other nonsense like that, that's a red flag. Better lay not on giving them any money, okay? So deal with reputable people. And there's a lot of people getting into quail selling right now, actually. So you're going to be dealing with like newer breeders, which doesn't mean they're, you know, shady or ripping you off. They just don't have a history yet.
Yeah, but just to ask them questions.
Yeah.
Was there a comment? Did you see that?
Oh, that was Bill saying he has a very green Christmas, not a white Christmas. I think we'll be getting a white Christmas, my friend.
Yeah.
We're here in southern PA, and it'll maybe a soggy Christmas. All right, I think that's good. We talked about that. Start with quality birds. Number 2. You need to know these things grow really quick.
Yeah.
Very rapid growth.
Yeah, if you're pretty much familiar with chickens and maybe you've grown chicken chicks, and you've had them in the brooder, and you had them in there for a couple weeks, and then you transition them outside and you're thinking, oh, no problem, quail will be easy. Well, it's great if you already have poultry experience, because it will be easier for you. But
Yeah.
It is easy in general, even if you have zero experience with animals, because the quail are pretty easy. But the growth rate is important to know, because the chicks do, when they hatch, or if you're buying them, they're several days old, they do double in size each week. And they grow their feathers very fast. So by 2 weeks old, they really don't need any heat on them at all. But if they were chicken chicks, they would still need heat on them.
Yeah, so managing that growth rate, when you get the little chicks, they're cute. Like, oh, they're so cute. In a week, they're not cute. They're big. But
Well, they're still cute. They just look
they're still
different.
cute, but they're big, and you're not expecting that. You may not be expecting that rapid growth. So you do need to plan for that.
Mm-hmm.
That they're going to be eating a lot. They're going to be growing fast, and they're going to need housing relatively quickly. Time flies. You know, how quickly did this week pass by? Imagine you bought
Yeah.
quail last Saturday. Well, now they're a week old, and they're big.
And just to give you an idea, by like a week and a half, 2 weeks, again, I just mentioned they don't really need heat. At that point, they're going to have a lot of feathers on them. And the point of the jumbo quail especially, now that's what we focus on. We don't have experience with standard quail, which are the smaller quail. But the jumbos, they're bred to grow faster. And plump out, and they can go outside very quickly.
Our whole thing is food contingency, food production, and these quail are phenomenal for it. But with the rapid growth, you don't want to have the birds stressing each other out because you didn't realize, like, oh God, they need space, and they grow. They don't need a ton of space. But they do need space, and they do grow very rapidly. What is the temperature range for them? Well, good question. Brooder and outdoors. What's the temperature range?
So brooder, I watch their behavior. So this is very much just like chickens as well, chicken chicks. It's their behavior. You adjust your heating element or heat source according to how they're acting around the heat source. If they're all huddled underneath it, then the heat source is either not hot enough, or if it's a light, it's too high. So you need to put it down. You want them to be milling about even throughout your
In the scientific context, they might say, 91 degrees?
I don't know.
But
because I just don't.
In the practical application, I forget what the temperature is exactly, but the practical application is exactly what she said.
Yeah.
You're going to be reading their movement by the heat source.
And especially with quail, because the reason why I do focus on their behavior as much, like for the main adjusting the heat, is because they do grow faster than chicken chicks. So you are going to have to be adjusting the heat accordingly. I mean, almost every several days you're going to have to be moving it or
upwards, so it's not so
changing.
close to the babies.
Yeah, because they're growing feathers, and that's going to make them warm. And they also run a little hotter than chickens. So their heat need is a little different. Also, the type of brooder you have them in will affect the temperature that you have the brooder set at. Because if you have a brooder that has shorter walls, and maybe it's a wider space, it's not going to hold the heat in the same as something that has tall walls, and maybe that's something that's either wooden, metal, or plastic. So there's different things you have to consider with temperature.
Comment from Bill. My birds have been challenging with bullies. The ones I hatched this fall were ridiculous and went to freezer camp. Considering starting over. That could possibly be a genetic disposition with their aggressive tendencies, but I'm not going to speak on that. It could be a lot of influences. Starting over, that's up to you.
A few things. Have you tried, if you still have them,
Separating.
Perhaps the space in the enclosure can affect their behavior. Sometimes, not always. If there's excessive space for the amount of birds that might cause them to become territorial, especially of the feeding area, and then they might appear to be bullies. So sometimes making the space smaller or adding more quail could help with that, or adding an additional feeding area. Or you could also take the ones that look to be the bullies out.
He did, and he ate them.
Oh, yeah.
So they're taken care of.
You want to make sure also that there aren't stressors like overcrowding, they're too hot.
Don't go in too much because we're going to talk about brooder setup next.
Yeah.
But real quick, we had a few other people stopping in. If you have any questions, stick them in the old comment bubble. We do see them, and we're a small channel, so even if you come in here a week later, we'll still answer it. So what's Bill saying? Have 2 levels of 2 by 4 feet with 10 hens and 2 roos in each, so lots of room. Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. It's
2 by 4 is
possible it
8,
might be a little excessive in space. Some quail cubbies are okay with excessive space, and some aren't. Like 1 or 2 personalities might not be. So that's up to
trial and error.
Yeah.
We house them. I think our max housing would be. I talked to Kelly about this square footage thing. There's so much debate about it. But 3 per 1 square foot we recommend as a maximum, and that's what we do as a maximum. But we usually run lighter than that because they're not fully housed, and they're fine.
We watch them. We don't have any bullies or territorial issues, but you can.
Moving on, because you people don't want to be here all night. You got important Netflix to watch. Starting with quality birds, number 1, rapid growth was point. Number 2,
real quick, and then, so with the brooder, the rapid growth, they do their growth slows down at about 4 or 5 weeks, and they're still growing, but it's not quite doubling each week. So you can kind of like gauge your spacing. So the point with the rapid growth in the young age is just to make sure when they're in the brooder stage, monitor to make sure, whether you need to divide the group into 2 brooders or just make sure you have enough space in the brooder, period.
Bingo. I try to keep these points in order. They may seem a little out of order. So number 3, brooder setup, which we kind of really discussed previously with their rapid growth. But brooder setup is, we get a lot of questions about people who are new to the quail, like what do I put them in? What's going on? I think the important thing is the heat source, the lamp, making it at the appropriate height. We use like those regular generic red heat lamps that you see everywhere for chicken chicks. And what is it, like 18 inches or so? How high do you keep them off the new hatchlings?
Well, if I'm hatching them and I'm taking them from the incubator to the brooder, well, it's just that it depends on the temperature of the room as well. So you just watch their behavior. I'll have it lower, maybe than needed initially, but I'll sit there and watch them. So because they're going from that constant temperature in the incubator to suddenly it's colder, then to the brooder under their heating element.
Yeah, you're trying.
So you want to warm them back up.
We're doing an artificial representation, an artificial duplication of what would happen in nature. Mama birds, etc., and nests where they would be kept warm. But obviously they don't have that, so we're introducing everything's artificial. Artificial light, artificial house, and everything. So you're in control, which is good. You just got to monitor them.
So then I adjust the light, within a couple minutes after putting them in there to figure out where is the best. The one thing that to say is you do want to make sure that your water and your food is within the range where they feel comfortable temperature-wise. Because if it's too far...
Down in the description here, I put a link to the brooder setup. Read that PDF. It tells you really all these important things.
Yeah, please just continue. Real quick. If the food source or the water source it's beyond their area of heat that they're comfortable to wander out of, then they won't go and eat and drink.
And they will starve.
Or dehydrate to death.
It's too cold. So they're not going to venture out.
It's very important to watch their behavior.
So keep the water and the food by their heat. But again, download or just click on the link to that PDF about raising chicks, quail chicks in this description. It's very short but thorough. Okay, it's very good, quick, free information. Number 4, I think it's kind of out of order of importance or order that would go. Anyway, so after brooder setup, I think the other thing that was important that you're going to need to focus on if you're doing this is breeding challenges like getting fertility and quality critters. We did a long video on hatching and breeding where we walked through all that, and it really could spend like 45 minutes talking about that. We don't
but if you want them for eggs and or meat, then you're going to likely want to at some point hatch them out yourself. And that's an exciting, fun, educational experience, to do is hatch chicks. And it's so rewarding because they do grow fast. So it's not a headache or anything. They just you move them outside quick. But
So the common challenges with breeding, if you're going to be doing that to maintain fertility, is keeping a healthy ratio. And ratio means male to female quail in the covey, which we do 5-to-1.
What that means is the male is you pair the certain number of females with a male that he can cover. And so her eggs are fertile. So if there's excessive females for the one male, he might not be breeding with all of them.
So then let's say you collect 100 eggs, okay? And you have one male for 10 hens. And out of those 100 eggs, you're only getting 30 or 40 that are fertile. Now let's say you have one male for 5 hens and you collect 100 eggs. He's much more able to fertilize that smaller group of hens, that you're going to have a more successful fertility rate, and out of those 100 you may have 80, 90, right, or so fertile. A much better fertility rate. This is not super complicated, but it's something to know.
And a basic thing that's good to know is it's generally good to replace your males by about 6 months of age. The females are good to go. You can replace them once they're like a year and a half. They're going to start petering out with their egg production. By 2, you definitely want them to be replaced with the young ones. But the males, some males are still active, into a year old, but you don't want to end up wanting to hatch eggs and then your rooster suddenly is like, I'm kind of an old man now and I'm not interested in doing my job, and then you're in a position where your eggs aren't fertile. So it's always best to try to replace your males by 6 months because they're vibrant still. They're that your eggs are still going to stay fertile, but it's kind of a toss-up if once they're over 6 months old, if they're actually doing their job anymore.
Which won't be a problem because moving on to point number 5, they're dual purpose. That's something to keep in mind. And why is that going to be good for breeding? Because you're going to be replacing your roosters with meat birds because they're dual purpose. So point number 5 of the things you should know, or we wish we knew. I think when we started, we were really kind of focusing on their egg production, like they're really good egg birds. But bear in mind, they're very prolific meat producers. They produce a very healthy, tasty, lean meat that's easy to process. Okay, they're much simpler than processing a chicken. They're very easy animals to process for meat. So,
and we do have a processing video, the whole process. He walks you right through it, very educational. That you're able to watch if you want.
Yeah, there's I don't know if I included it. I might have a butchering
we have it on
video.
our YouTube channel and on our Facebook page.
Yeah, so keep in mind, or one of the 10 things to know is that these are dual purpose birds. Dual purpose, that means they make eggs and they make meat. And frankly, in my opinion, a quail satisfies that description better than a dual purpose chicken. A dual purpose chicken, they lay eggs, but they're not real huge and meaty. A dual purpose quail, however, these jumbo quail, they produce a lot of eggs and they're really meaty, and they're also really meaty.
And they're usually pretty consistent because we raise black Australorp chickens for meat and eggs as well, and the roosters is what we process for meat, and they can vary with their weights. But the quail, they're pretty consistent. I know really what we're gonna get, what to expect. Just the genetics, I guess. The breeding. It's a process.
Because we're good breeders.
But the thing with quail is because they're such fast growers, doing a breeding program, if you're, just a tidbit here, you're able to hone in faster the details in your line, your breeding line, and your stock. your birds more rapidly than a slower growing animal like the chickens. They take longer to grow, so it's like a year before the rooster is really filled out in a chicken to be super satisfied with. That's a good breeder. I'm gonna keep him for my stock. But the quail are very quick.
In 1 year, you're gonna have, I guess, 1.5 cycles of chickens to process, whereas quail, you're doing like 3 or 4 generations of them, and you can do a lot of them. They just produce a lot of meat. They're great meat birds. It's something you should know, because you may be thinking, I'm gonna raise them for eggs, but you may want to pre-plan to also have your hutch in mind for the future if you might want to do a meat program.
And some people they'll use the meat, the male birds, for their dogs because they value giving their pets a healthy diet. So there are some people, they don't actually butcher or process the birds for themselves, but they do for their dogs. So there's it's versatile.
Oh gosh, forgot to mention, this is all home raised food, man.
Yeah.
It's totally clean. It's not the garbage you're getting from the grocery store. So we're huge proponents of healthy food, healthy life, eat well. Growing your own food is a very rewarding experience, but it's also high quality stuff, and you're monitoring what's going in.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about what? Breeding issues, dual purpose. Okay, I took notes. It's like I'm in high school. I kind of like doing this. Good evening, everyone. Oh, it's Aaron.
Hi.
What's up, man? Good to see you. Thanks for stopping in, bud. Point number 6, I was saying to keep things that would be good to know is the difference between what you're getting into, the quail egg versus the chicken egg. Okay. Everybody say, what do they taste like? I'm on the internet here. I don't know. Like, it's very hard to describe an experience, like a flavor experience. It's like, what does Coca-Cola taste like? I don't know. Dirt? I don't know how to say it. Like flavory dirt water? I don't like Coke, but, it's hard to describe. They're tasty. I think they have a little bit...
I mean, you have some context, because the majority of people have tasted chicken eggs.
Well, some people's palates aren't very sensitive, so they won't
true.
notice a difference. Some people are sensitive, and they may detect one of the fats in the egg tastes a little different than another egg, and it may be really dominant.
Some people ask, because they'll hear, well, a quail egg is slightly creamier, does that mean they are like eating a duck egg? And I would say no, they're not like eating a duck egg.
They're creamier, like you added that, what do you call that? Like evaporated milk when you're making scrambled eggs. So, I mean, the real big issue that people say, oh, they're so small. Yes, doctor, they're very small. Thank you very much. Well, not very small. They're, like I said, 3 to 1. 3 of these is equivalent to 1 large chicken egg.
And real quick, just to give perspective, if you have, one chicken, the amount of space that a single chicken needs is much bigger than a single quail. In a 2 by 4 foot hutch, that's, I wouldn't say quite, I mean, you can stuff one chicken in that space and then get maybe 5-6 eggs a day from that one chicken. But in a 2 by 4 foot hutch, you can put what we said was 3 quail per square foot, which would be 24 quail. And you're going to get anywhere from 22 to 26 eggs a day. Yeah, it's a huge difference.
Yeah, the return on investment on the use of square footage is much more prolific with the quail.
Your eggs will pile up.
The eggs are a little smaller, but the eggs, that's the other thing I wanted to mention with what I wish I knew before we started with these quail, is the eggs do pile up. Especially if you get 1 million quails, like, oh, I'm going to get 50 quail or 40 quail, and it's just you and your husband, and maybe you and your husband and a kid, or just 2 couple people. Those eggs will, you have buckets of these things giving them away, right? Because they add up quick.
Which friends and family do appreciate. There was a comment, I believe, to do with the eggs, the taste.
Crazy. Creamy tasting eggs, more yolk versus the chicken egg. Yeah, that's right. They're more nutrient dense because of that. So you have a higher yolk to white ratio. Now, I do I'm very knowledgeable about food nutrition and metabolic science, but I'm not going to get into that. And I don't want to get into debate about the cholesterol and the fat and the issue, but eggs are healthy and they're good for you, especially your home-raised or farm-raised eggs.
I did want to mention, I said they are not like eating duck eggs, and the reason why I said that is because duck eggs, it's what, fattier? It's thicker.
Duck eggs like a yellow Crisco ball.
If you had a duck egg sunny side up, fried sunny side up on your plate, it's just like creamy and thick. It's still good, but versus like a chicken egg is more runny. If it's sunny side up, runnier, the consistency. And a quail egg is very much like a chicken egg.
Yeah, it's true. Very good point.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on. So, quail egg versus chicken egg we talked about. Okay, one of the things I wish I knew before we started with quail was their minimal space requirements. Why would you want to know that? Isn't that a good thing? Yes, it is. However, you will tend to overplan. You're going to overplan. You may have a propensity to overplan, especially got engineer brain going on. You're going to overplan for animals that really don't need any space. They need a small, like, hugging space is what they need. You just, a small hutch, if you're doing it just for yourself. If you have a more dedicated program where you're going to be raising a lot of birds, maybe you want to sell eggs or do a breeding program, yeah, you're going to have a larger footprint and you may have larger
like
cages.
Multiple cages.
Yeah. But it's something to plan with, and there's plenty of resources here online to reference to how to do that. It's quite simple. This is not, you're not building a rocket ship. You're just raising little tiny birds, and it's easy to do. Okay? So keeping the space requirements for these birds in mind, because a lot of people, it's an apprehension too. People want to go do something, raise a bird, raise a chicken, and they find out about quail, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I have space. And the chances are, yeah, you probably have space. Like a back porch is even space. If this is something one desires, I encourage people to do things they have a passion or desire to do, to try things. I never push things on anybody. I don't treat people like they're idiots. You can make your minds up. But you want to have knowledge and information so you can make good decisions. Okay? You don't never want to hear a persuasive argument. You want to hear a informed argument, like something that gives you information so you can make a good decision for yourself. Does that make sense?
Which is good, you want to hear pros and cons of whatever it is you're researching, so then you can weigh pros and cons, because everything, for the most part, most everything has pros and cons.
Which I'm going on to next.
How that relates to you.
Yeah, so now we're going to move on to some cons, things I wish I knew about getting my quails. Number 8 is we love talking about this. Predators come around. So
the reason why we love talking about it is
predators
because
and behavior.
We want to ensure people are protecting their birds and they're not getting eaten up, because it's just disheartening to have your birds that are producing for you and then have a predator who's also hungry who sees they're looking for an easy snack.
Yeah, and people do get attached to the animals.
Yeah.
They're like pets for a lot of people. So what do you want to know about predators? And we always discuss this when we're talking about hutches, making sure their environment is predator-proofed. And
what does that mean? It means a predator can't get into the enclosure, into the cage, or cause harm to your birds even from the outside of the cage.
Yeah. So what do you love saying? A quarter? Is that what it is? Or?
Something. If you have a hole. The smaller predators can get through a quarter size hole. So that means a mink. I always hear people, oh, we don't have mink. Well, mink are actually pretty common, but they're not a creature they're nocturnal. They're not really a creature that you see. Rats.
And if you see them, they look like a sock. I always say that. You'll be like, what the hell is that sock doing over there? No, it's a mink.
Like that.
The mink, if you ever see them, they look like a long fluffy sock.
But rats are everywhere, and if you have feed, that they can get to, or spill it a little bit on the ground, then there's a potential to attract them, and they will cause harm to poultry. They are predators in and of themselves.
That's a good thing you brought up, being aware about the management of feed and spillage. Spillage, especially if you have a small covey of birds, you don't have a million, it's not going to be that difficult to manage the feed spillage. But all that feed getting on the ground,
Yeah.
Little rats will come around, they'll sniff it up, like she was saying.
And you might think, oh, that's not really a big deal. You know, it's just a little bit of food, and what are the rats really going to do? But your house is probably not very far from your quail, and your house is this nice warm place where you have food in it all year round, and at some point during the year the rats might, you know, venture to your house.
It's gonna be a very
and they can
fun Christmas.
They can get
those
through
are my rats.
foundations
They'll
and
get away from
they'll
my
find
rats.
a way to get in. Their teeth they can chew. So you want to make sure to mitigate that.
Any livestock will attract vermins, and it's because of the food.
Yeah.
So you just want to manage the food.
But during different seasons of the year, snakes can get through that size of hole, and also raccoons, they can stick their little grubby hands through a hole that big and grab your bird and pull it and cause severe damage or death to your birds.
Right.
Now, and then the other thing is, just to make sure you're thinking of maybe the underside of your hutch, whether you have a tray for manure to catch, or you have something to prevent predators from getting up underneath the cage and right to the flooring, because we recommend a 1/4 inch hardware cloth. Or I'm sorry, 1/2 inch. Yes.
1/2 inch.
1/2 inch. The reason why 1/2 inch is 1/4 inch is too small because their manure will not fall through.
It'll clog it up.
Clogged. But you don't want it to be bigger than a 1/2 inch because you don't want the feet falling through, and you don't want
a lot of you guys are, if you're doing quail, you may have a cage, right? You got from somebody an old rabbit cage, and rabbit cages have rabbit wire on the bottom. It's not.
It's usually like 1 inch by 1/2 inch.
And we definitely don't recommend that because the animals can get their hands through there.
Yeah, and if it's not their hands, then it's their teeth. So the reason why I'm saying you want to try and make sure the predators can't get access to the bottom of the quail cage is because they'll use their teeth to grab their little feet and pull them through.
And then you'll have quail hobbling around.
Yeah, they'll be hobbling.
Toes missing and feet missing. And
that's not good.
That's not a good thing. And then you feel sad. And then, what do you do?
So those are good things to know about your cage.
And then you start arguing about, I told you to do this.
And it's really important to try to get set up and ready ahead of time so you can prevent these things, because this can cause stress. This will cause stress on your birds, and it'll cause stress on you, and you don't want that.
Okay, number 9. If you ever had birds, especially quail, you realize they like to crap a lot. So managing quail manure. Is that a French word? Manure. It sounds rather classy.
It does.
Manure. Managing manure. The quail manure. So you're going to have, there's a lot of input going into the quail. There's going to be output. Mm-hmm. So you're going to have to, of course, clean your hutch. And that's why whenever we do our hutch videos or whatever, we show the little slide out pan. That works well. But if you can figure something out that works better for you, go with that. But you want to have a system that makes it easy to clean out your hutch, especially if they're just right on the ground, because you don't want to leave manure and stuff in their living quarters, because of course it's going to spread germs. Everybody's going to get sick, and then they got to call out of school.
And then just real quick ideas to manage manure. Some people will have a compost pile.
Right, that's great.
Some people will put it in their trash system.
Pause. How long does it take to break down so you don't throw it directly onto your garden? You can do that with rabbit.
Yes, because it's neutral.
You don't do it with quail. You have to let it decompose for usually a few months, 6 months.
4 or 6 months. And the reason why is because it's more acidic, and this will burn your plants.
Mix it with the browns.
For the garden.
Like the leaves and stuff.
Yeah. So if you're mixing it in your compost pile, you're adding brown type of material, shaving, straw, leaves. That'll help it neutralize it, like break down faster.
Brown means like organic plant kind of stuff.
But you can even use like cardboard too.
Yeah. Well, that is a plant. That's paper.
That's true. But another thing too, if you have a nice big pile forming, and it's summertime and it's getting stinking hot, and maybe you're noticing there are some flies, and you don't want to have the fly issue, I always recommend that people get black soldier flies. Black soldier fly larvae, they're natural in some areas when it's a little warmer. We're up in Pennsylvania, and we actually are able to have them all year round. But if you do not have any black soldier flies, the flies themselves are harmless. They look like a black wasp, but they actually do not have a mouth. When they're in the adult phase, they are only alive for a brief period of time, like a week, just for breeding. So you can hold them; they won't do anything to you.
Why am I going to be holding a
The
fly?
reason why you would have black soldier fly larvae is because, and technically they're maggots, but larva sounds better, is because they are a natural competitor to flies. And when the larvae they'll eat composting manure materials. They can eat all sorts of stuff that you would compost, but they secrete a liquid, a fluid that will what's the
neutralize?
It's
for what, the smell?
Yeah, it prevents the flies from coming because they're their competition.
Oh,
so
territorial, like a wolf marking their territory.
Yeah, it's so they themselves, their presence will push flies away.
Yeah, that is a good point. So people ask, especially if you're doing outdoors and you have this manure issue, the black soldier flies do keep the regular flies
away
from coming around
and
there.
You can buy a whole container of them.
It's
like
a pheromone,
on Amazon.
like it's
Yes,
pheromones.
yes. And
That scares the other guys
they
off.
just live in the compost pile and they just eat it, consume it. And so the reason why ours stay all year round is because they'll go into the material and they'll just kind of like
chill out,
go into
That's a
a
scientific
hibernation
term.
kind of mode. They just, you know, I don't know what the word is.
Chill out is a scientific term. They go down in the dirt and chill out over
And
the
then,
winter.
so then they're safe from frost and freezing and all that. And then
and then they come back up and they start doing their fly thing in the spring, and then you have black soldier flies.
But they're really cool.
You'll hear it a lot if you start looking online. If you're stalking around in the Facebook groups, you keep hearing the word black soldier fly pop up.
And you can actually feed. People buy dried mealworms for their chickens as treats, but they also buy black soldier fly larvae dried as treats. So you can even breed them and feed them to your birds.
Chances are, if you're in a rural area and you have friends up there, people have them. They're present. So if you want to go digging around for people's larvae, just ask. Somebody may be happy to do that. Okay, so that was 9. Point number 10. This is kind of a fluff one because I know I'd be lazy by the end. Oh my God, I didn't realize we'll have to be explaining to all of our friends about quail. Ah, why is this?
Yeah, what's a quail?
It's actually
Why do you
true.
have quail? Mm-hmm.
So I do run into people all the times like, what's quail? Because they're new in, well, I want to say new, but they're gaining popularity in places where they were not. So people are not educated about them. So it's a foreign kind of thing. Quail are very popular and dominant overseas in Asia, right, in Europe. But over here in the U.S., what do you got? Tyson? Who's that old guy? You know.
The Kentucky guy?
Purdue. Tyson, Purdue. Excuse me, good sir. Can I sift through your larva? Exactly. Yes. Was that Aaron? Oh, that was Kelly. Yes. I say. Yeah, you can sift through our larva. We'd be happy to. But, yeah, so number 10, I just said we're going to be, I wish I knew we'd be explaining about our quail all the time, which is true. We, people ask about quail. Actually, I volunteer the information because they do express interest, like, what is that? They have no idea,
Or your neighbors
people
will be
aren't
like, what is that sound? It's like a wild bird, but what is it?
And so my thing is people are intelligent and, they're very brilliant when it comes to problem solving. Unfortunately, there's so much information around, you can't have all this information. So, you need to teach people. And that's why we do this stuff. Educate so they can use all these tools that they already have and their intelligence to make good decisions. Right? And give them the tools to make good decisions. So we find ourselves discussing and teaching about quail a lot. People ask, it's like, we'll run into somebody out in public. I was like, oh, wow, you raise what? Quail. Have you never heard of quail? Nobody ever hears of quail. Gee,
hello.
Willow. Well, hello. Thanks for stopping in. We're almost actually done, but if you want to go get bored, you can watch this whole thing over again. I don't know if it was boring. What's it say? Kelly said, my neighbors would barf, but BSL aren't fun in urban settings as much. But like I'm getting sown in by non-disturbed compost pile. Yeah.
Well, the black soldier flies, they they're not like maggots. The reason why fly maggots. The reason why I say that is maggots. They just like you see them. They're just like on top of something. The black soldier fly larvae, they dig down. You don't really even see that they're there.
They're different species than
yeah.
They're
So
totally different.
Yeah.
So we don't call them maggots. We say larvae. Anyway, so yeah, you're going to be explaining to, if you do get quail, people are going to ask about them. And you're going to be explaining about them. We do that a lot. And you're actually going to be giving away eggs all the time if you're raising quail, because they do produce a lot of eggs. And unless you cook all the time, I don't know. Like, I cook all the time, so I forget. Like in the United States, people they buy lunch and stuff, and they don't cook all the time. But I cook breakfast every day and all this stuff.
Because we're very aware of all the chemicals and different things that are in the foods, processed foods. So when you make your own food.
Your quail eggs aren't processed. They just got processed by a quail, and they're very, very tasty. So if you do raise them, you'll wind up probably giving away, as we like to do anyway. You're going to give them away no matter what, because one of the compulsions about being a good human being is to share our gifts. To give to other people. In fact,
and it is neat. People get really excited.
It's Christmas time. It's the season of giving, right? Give away some quail eggs. What were you saying? I cut you off.
No, just people, they get excited about the quail eggs too, because they are different and they look really neat. And I mean, you can tell them that, hey, this quail egg here, this pattern is unique to the hen that lays it. Because, yeah, when each hen lays an egg, the ink pattern, it's very, very similar on each egg that she will always lay. So, and that's a neat thing. People are always just like, wow, that's so cool.
I have an 8-month pile of pine pellet quail poop. Can I put soldier fly larvae in the spring? My birds love the dried black soldiers.
Yes, absolutely. Man. And look on YouTube. If you want to harvest black soldier fly larvae for your birds, there's all sorts of simple contraptions like tubs. Because when they're getting closer to maturing, they'll be like an inch long, the larva, and they will start venturing up to the surface. It's just what they do. So they have these contraptions where you have them...
They venture to the surface because they're coming out to become flies.
Yeah.
So their natural inclination is to repel gravity. They go in that direction.
It takes a little bit for them to then transition. So they'll go up. So the contraptions, tubs, you can like insert a ramp and then have them literally like harvest themselves into like a bin, or they go out through a tube and just drop into a canister for you. It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah. So if done properly, you can make a lot of... quail, black starlight.
Protein treats.
Okay. It's not easy talking for a straight hour about but we do this. We do a lot of these newbie videos because the quail are gaining popularity, and there's always new people. There's a lot of old, people have been doing this for a while, and maybe they'll go watch these quail videos just to see the community. But there's a lot of new people just learning about these things. So we want to encourage you guys, if you're new, don't be afraid of anything, okay? Try these new things. There are very decent people in these communities who'd be happy to give you advice and help you out. Ooh, let me read what this says.
In the composting toilet.
Customer of mine utilizing BSA in composting toilet. Okay. And then somebody says JJ how he is. I hope he's doing fine. Yeah, but there's a lot of new people, and we hope to offer useful information. For that, we're a small channel. We don't have a lot of subscribers, which is fine with me. I could care less. Like, I like being outside. I'm not really an internet person.
But real quick, if you guys enjoy seeing us, or you're getting some value out of what we're sharing, please feel free to like and subscribe to our channel, because we post on here pretty regularly.
Yeah, that's right. Click the likey button and subscribe. What is that? I always felt weird when people did that. I thought they were begging, but it actually turns out that the computer or the internet, what is it, an algorithm? Whatever. When they do that, it tells the computer, or it tells the platform, oh, this is something viewers enjoy. Show it to like-minded viewers. That's all. Anyway, we like to help out folks. What is he saying? He's talking to Aaron. You guys are having a conversation. I have a computer here.
Yeah, I'm leaning on to the phone, and he's looking at the computer down there.
Okay, point 11, which isn't a point, it was just closing, which we kind of did. Okay, I think that just about suffices. If you guys have any questions, again, stuff them down in the bottom. We'll get them. Like I said, it's a small channel, and I get alerted on my telephone machine, and I always go in there and answer questions.
Yeah.
And that's that. Other than that, check out the description stuff. Again, new people, especially new people. I wrote this for new people who have no knowledge of quail. It's a quail raising checklist.
Yeah,
it's more of like
the top 25 questions and answers.
See, very easy to read, simple stuff. It's a free thing, I just put it out there to give you guys some good quality information for starting with your own critters. Okay? I think is that fair? Am I done talking? Can I go now? Oh, that's right. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Christmas. Have a wonderful time, whatever it is you do with your family. Yeah.
Eat some good food, have some good cookies, get some good toys.
Just enjoy being
Spend time
together.
with the babies, whatever stage of babies they are now.
Listen to Christmas music, watch some Christmas movies.
Yeah, Rudolph. All right, guys, thanks for stopping in. I'm going to shut it down tonight and go do my cleaning.
Good night.
See you guys.